Welcome back to Boilers and Beyond. I'm Jordan Jones, back here today, and as Titus and Tate on the Titus and Tate podcast always say, it's cold outside, but it's heating up inside the gyms. We are in the heart of Big Ten season, folks, and that was never more evident than earlier today. I'm recording this on Monday night after Purdue's dramatic victory over Illinois in the Martin Luther King Day matinee. We will break that down, as well as Purdue's easy win last Friday against Nebraska at Mackey Arena. Looking forward to that. There is certainly plenty to talk about today before we get into previewing the game that everyone circles on the calendar, Purdue heading down to Assembly Hall. First, as always, give the show a follow on Twitter, @BoilersBeyond. Most weeks we will be doing a Q&A. You tweet at me, ask any questions you would like about Purdue sports or college sports in general. Answer those here. Didn't get that tweet out today just with the game and been traveling this weekend some, so that'll be back next week. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to Boilers and Beyond. Available wherever you get your podcasts, and if there is a platform it's not on and you would like it to be there, just let me know. Diving into some of the action here, Purdue last week had some extra practice time because their game Tuesday up in Ann Arbor got postponed. We don't know when that game will be made up yet, or I guess we don't know for sure that it will be made up, with some of the cases and teams needing to shut down. Who knows what's going to go on there, but as of now, it sounds like all intentions are for Purdue to make up their game against Michigan, who has really had a rough season so far. Not at all the season that the Wolverines were hoping for. Purdue probably could have benefited from playing them. I think that with a team as talented as Michigan, you'd like to get them as early as possible, because in case those freshmen start clicking, that could be a dangerous thing. But regardless, that'll get tacked on at some point. I don't know when that will be, but Purdue will get Michigan again. So they had some extra practice time to prepare for Nebraska. The Cornhuskers came into Mackey Arena. They were 0-6 in the Big Ten. They left 0-7. This game wasn't close. Purdue jumped out to a 23-4 lead, and at that point the game was over. Nebraska just isn't good. There's not really another way to put it. I was talking to this on Twitter. Nebraska goes all in on Fred Hoiberg. They gave him a massive contract. His buyout is insane to the point where I don't think they can pay it. I don't think they can justify moving on from him this year. And they're terrible. They're just not good at all. I know as I record this right now, they're playing Indiana. I don't know what that score is, but I can't imagine Nebraska's doing well there. Purdue absolutely dominated this game. Zach Edey was excellent, 22 points, 9 rebounds. Jaden Ivey was good. It was just a routine game for Purdue. And the one thing I'll say that was even more impressive about this game is that Purdue wins by 27. They put up 92 points, and Sasha Stefanovic goes 1 of 7 from 3. Isaiah Thompson goes 0 for 6 from 3. And as a team, Purdue shoots 31% from 3. That's not all that good. And Purdue was still able, again, to put up 92 points and blow Nebraska out. You'll take that all day. Purdue had 46 points in the paint in this game. That's remarkable. Nebraska, I don't think there's been a team in the country that's necessarily been hurt by the one-time transfer rule coming into effect as much as Nebraska. And I don't say that because they're losing transfers, but when Fred Hoiberg had success at Iowa State, it was because he was really the only coach in the country, at least, at the high major level, that was okay building his program off of transfers. And now everyone takes transfers. Everyone will take transfers more years than not. If I remember right, there are only 4 power conference schools that didn't take a transfer this offseason. I know Purdue was one of them, Villanova was one, but as a whole, that novelty isn't there anymore. So Nebraska is trying to be competitive in a league that they're not set up for success in. And the one thing that kind of makes their situation unique is gone. Their advantage of being a transfer-heavy program is long gone. They're just bad. And I don't know where their Big Ten wins are going to come from. I'm sure they'll get a couple, but they're just a bad program. Credit to Purdue for rolling over them because it's easy to look past that. It was another good defensive performance. Jaden Ivey did a really nice job on Bryce McGowan's, their best player by far. Held him to 9 points. Nebraska got in horrible foul trouble early in the game. Derek Walker was in foul trouble. Eduardo Andre was in trouble. Bryce McGowan's was in trouble. Just really tough for Nebraska. They weren't competitive, but Purdue got another momentum-building win they needed, and they headed into Monday's game with some confidence. And I talked greatly about this on Twitter, that it wasn't a must-win game, but boy was it important, because as we know, Purdue really put themselves behind the 8 ball when they picked up 2 early conference losses. The goal for this team should be a Big Ten championship. They took a massive step towards that with how they played against Illinois today. 96-88, Purdue wins it in double overtime. We'll be talking about this one for probably the next 20 minutes or so because this game was huge. This was the marquee game of the day. It was a standalone game when some people had the day off work. I don't know what the split was. I know I did myself, but this had a lot of attention on it. And Purdue rose to the occasion, got off to a great start. Illinois battled back in the second half, got to 2 overtimes. Purdue had chances to win it at the end of both regulation and overtime and couldn't do it. But, they hold on. They get this win. It was massive. And there are so many things that are worth talking about here. So let's see what we can do. I don't have as much planned out, bullet points to talk about. I've got the live stats, the final box score and stuff in front of me. So let's roll here. Zach Edey was incredible. And it was of the utmost importance for Purdue that they at least held in there with Kofi Cockburn, because the last 2 years with, Kofi Cockburn's 2 years at Illinois before this, Purdue's really struggled with him. Travion Williams has struggled with him. Matt Harms, for the 1 year, really struggled with him. The guy is just a monster. And he has size, he has strength. He's just really tough to defend. Zach Edey took it to him in the first half. He got Cockburn frustrated, and that paid off big time right away in the second half. Cockburn was in foul trouble. Picked up 2 in the first half, and before the under-16 timeout in the second half, he had 4 fouls. Edey finished the game with 20. I think, what did he have in the first half? He had 14 of those in the first half. So that got Purdue off to the start they needed. And Zach Edey's performance was even bigger when you consider that up until that second overtime, really, Travion Williams really struggled. And I guess, even in overtime, he didn't do all that much. But, Williams finishes the game with 14 points on 18 shots. That's not great. He really forced things at times. I thought that, especially early on in the game, he wanted to prove a little bit that he could take it to Coburn, and that didn't go very well. But, at the end of the day, in overtime, and I think they were both in the second overtime maybe, he hit Eric Hunter Jr. with a pair of great passes on give and goes for easy open layups. That stuff's the difference. He still had 7 rebounds, still had 5 assists. The 4 turnovers, not ideal. But Purdue's bigs won that battle. And that's where Illinois has the advantage against probably every other team on their schedule besides Purdue. Purdue won that battle. Purdue didn't shoot the ball great as a team outside of Sasha Stefanovic, who was incredible. I know when Purdue struggles, all the focus goes to the guard play, inevitably with this team. And after a rough game against Nebraska, there's folks out there criticizing Stefanovic, 1 of 7. Well, Purdue doesn't win this game today without Stefanovic. Leading scorer at 22 points, 5 of 8 from 3, an uncharacteristic 5 for 9 at the foul line. I haven't seen anyone bringing back the old Sasha can't shoot free throws take from, goodness, what was that? His freshman year or sophomore year maybe. Hopefully that one's gone now. He was fantastic, and not to be lost in there is Stefanovic pulling down 8 rebounds. That's tied for the team lead with Jaden Ivey and Zach Edey. Stefanovic did everything he needed to do today. And he was even more impressive right away in the game. He hadn't done much yet. And Illinois' Omar Payne comes down the floor and whacks Stefanovic upside the head. Sasha didn't react one bit, took the flagrant foul. Travion Williams picked up an offsetting tech from getting in Payne's face. But, this is Illinois basketball we're talking about. That's not to be all that surprising to you. That's how this team plays. We're 2 years removed from Alan Griffin, who's no longer there, literally stomping on Sasha Stefanovic's chest in Mackey Arena. That's how Illinois plays. That's how they want to run their program. So be it. I mean, I certainly am not a huge fan of it, but all is fair, I guess. It's not going to make Underwood any friends in the Big Ten. I don't think he has many friends at the NCAA level either, but Purdue withstood that well. Illinois is in your face. They are loud. They're aggressive. Purdue withstood that today, and that was huge. That's something that Purdue had not done well with. This is the first time that Purdue's beaten Kofi Coburn, or a Kofi Coburn Illinois team. That's pretty big. Obviously, Ayo Dosunmu's not there anymore. He was the heart and soul of that program. To a certain extent, he has been replaced by Alfonso Plummer. And I can't get my mind around the fact that he was only 8 of 19 from the floor, because it felt like he hit every shot he took. He kept them in this game. He was huge at times, hit some massive threes. And then I was very wrong. I'd said early on in the year that I thought Illinois might be better without Andre Curbelo. And I was probably basing too much of that on his performance against Marquette. He was 4 of 18 from the floor, had like 7 turnovers, single-handedly lost them that game. Well, he almost won them this game today. He came back from an injury of some sort. Illinois was never super open about what it was, but he played his first game since November. He was excellent. He gave Purdue fits off the dribble all day long. He really did a nice job of A, getting past Purdue's big guys and help, and B, getting past Purdue's big guys and then finding an open three-point shooter. He was massive. This game is probably a blowout if Illinois doesn't have Curbelo out there. He was that good, in my opinion. Hit some massive shots late in that game. Yeah, he had 14 in the second half. Says he only had 2 in overtime. I don't know if that's correct, but he was great. He was fantastic. Trent Frazier was pretty good. That's a good Illinois team. That is an Illinois team that even now I think is still the favorite to win the Big Ten, especially with Curbelo back. If he keeps playing like that, that's going to stand out quite a bit. Purdue gets them one more time at Mackey. That's in a few weeks. That'll be a huge game. Purdue's right back in the mix in the Big Ten race here. And that's what you want. You have your toughest road game out of the way. Purdue still has some road trips to go. They play at Wisconsin. They play at Michigan State. They play at Iowa. So it's not to say that Purdue's got a cakewalk from here on out, but getting this win was big. Getting this win shows that, you still are the best team in the Big Ten. I think the national side of college basketball still kind of views it that way, but there was some skepticism within certainly the Purdue fan base, probably within the Big Ten as well, whether Purdue was the best team in the Big Ten. I think today went a long way with that. It's pretty remarkable to see some of the minutes played for Purdue. You have Ivy, 42 minutes, Stefanovic, 41, Mason Gillis, 43 minutes. Major credit as well, and I should have brought this up earlier, to Eric Hunter Jr. What a day he had today. He was huge. He didn't really come off the court at all late in the game because he couldn't. He was good on defense. He got the offense flowing better. The offense is just a little bit looser when he's in there. It does more, and it more comes naturally rather than out of the sets. I think he's just a little bit better with the basketball in a more free-flowing game. And that, of course, is the type of game Illinois always wants to play. Eric Hunter was great, 11 points, 4 for 4 at the line late. That was really big. Very happy to see that for him. Purdue won this game as well because of the depth. And this is the second massive game Purdue has won this year in large part due to its depth. In fact, the 2 biggest wins on Purdue's resume now really came because of depth. You look at Illinois. Trent Frazier plays 48 minutes. DeMonte Williams plays 45. Alfonso Plummer plays 42. That's a lot. That's 3 guys playing a boatload of minutes. Not that Purdue didn't have that, but that's a lot of minutes. Grandison plays 30. Coburn's in foul trouble. So you play that Bozeman's Verdanis guy or whatever his name was. I'd never heard of him, and I watch a good amount of Big Ten basketball. I'd never heard of him. He gave it a great effort out there. Hats off to him. I thought Purdue was in trouble when BT or Fox showed that he's a 30% free throw shooter and he nails both of them. That was not what I expected, but, that reality kind of came back later in the game. But, Coleman Hawkins, good player. He only plays 4 minutes. Luke Goody plays 6. Whatever, Omar Payne, he barely played. He had 3 fouls early on in the game, and I don't know if he played at all in the second half. He really doesn't deserve to, and should probably be suspended. But it's also worth noting that Omar Payne was suspended at Florida for brutally hitting a Tennessee player. So that's someone who had some serious baggage with him, and Illinois took him. But enough of that. Great win for Purdue here. Purdue certainly needs to get better at closing out games. There were missed free throws towards the end. Jaden Ivey misses the front end of a 1-and-1. I think that was at the end of regulation. Sasha Stefanovic misses a free throw towards the end of overtime. If you hit those, things are a little bit different. I wasn't all that impressed with Purdue's last shot, either at the end of regulation or overtime. End of regulation, I'm not sure what that sideline out-of-bounds play was supposed to do, but a contested long three from Sasha Stefanovic isn't a good shot there. I thought they would get it to Jaden Ivey, and they didn't. And then Jaden Ivey gets the ball at the end of the first overtime and settles for a long three instead of trying to go to the rim. Another, I don't know about that either. So be it. Purdue dodges a bullet there. It was good to see Purdue pull away in the second overtime. Brandon Newman came in and played some huge minutes in overtime. Thought he was very valuable. He came in to help keep Jaden Ivey on the floor. Ivey had 4 fouls for a while there. Never fouled out. That was absolutely crucial. And all in all, I think Purdue's the better team. Things went Purdue's way. Getting Kofi Cockburn into that foul trouble went Purdue's way. Illinois shot decently well. When Coburn's not on the floor, they're so different. They're a absolute volume shooting team at that point, and they took 33 three-point shots in this game. But at the same time, Illinois played their best when Cockburn wasn't on the floor. Purdue didn't take advantage of the matchup advantage when Cockburn was off the floor very well. Credit to Bozeman's there. He did a really good job of just anticipating where Purdue's bigs would go and just being there. Which side they would turn to. He was there. He was meeting them. Major credit. That kid played a great game. And, without him, that's a completely different game. But remarkable job by Purdue to come out and win this game. It was a loud atmosphere. It was a big game that Purdue took care of business, even if it was a little bit more dramatic than it needed to be. And, Illinois only led for 2 minutes of this game. Purdue deserved to win. They got it done. We will see certainly what happens in this game at Mackey Arena. Purdue will have to be ready because Illinois is going to come out physical as all get out. They will be in Purdue's face. They will be ready for the challenge. Purdue's going to have to come out and play like they lost this game today. Moving forward, Purdue looks to continue its streak against Indiana on Thursday. Purdue heads down to the Assembly Hall for a 7 p.m. tip-off. I believe that's on Fox Sports 1. First time Purdue gets to face off with Mike Woodson. As you are probably well aware if you are listening to this show, Purdue has not lost to Indiana since 2016. They've won 9 in a row in the rivalry. Archie Miller was fired back in March. A massive part of that was that he didn't beat Purdue ever. He was 0-7 against the Boilermakers. I think the loss that he had against Purdue on Bob Knight Day down there in February of 2020 was probably the day where he fell out of good graces for good down there. That was one of the more disappointing losses for IU fans in a while. But now Mike Woodson's in there. I can say this. They are playing better and they're playing harder with Mike Woodson than they were with Archie Miller, but they still have plenty of flaws. It's still the same Indiana team. They don't shoot the ball particularly well. As a team, they only shoot 34% from three. They aren't an explosive offensive team. They turn it over quite a bit, but they are very good on defense. They are very good on defense. Trace Jackson Davis is really good. He is still an all Big Ten type of player. Purdue struggled with him last year in the game down at Assembly Hall. I know he scored 25 there. Don't remember what he did at Mackey. That was just a bad game all around for both sides. We're to the point now where if Purdue doesn't win this game, it's going to be viewed by Purdue fans as a catastrophe, just because that's the state of the rivalry right now. Purdue's dominated this for a while. At some point, Indiana's going to win. I don't think it'll be on Thursday, but maybe it will. I don't know. Purdue is probably its own worst enemy there. It's going to have to take care of the ball. It's going to have to handle Jackson Davis well. And to some degree with IU, you just can't let other guys get going. I mean, and it's not that they have a ton of other weapons, and especially weapons that Purdue's not familiar with. I mean, they have Miller Kopp. Purdue's played against him plenty when he was at Northwestern. Xavier Johnson is a double-edged sword, and the bad side is much sharper than the good side. He was absolutely killer for them in their loss at Iowa last week. It's going to be an interesting game. The atmosphere at Assembly Hall will be great. I can assure you of that. It's going to be rocking there. If Purdue plays its game, Purdue will win. If Purdue doesn't, then it opens itself up to a court storming, because that's what's coming whenever that streak ends, if it's at Assembly Hall. Purdue then takes on Northwestern Sunday. That's a day game, 2 p.m., I believe. That's at Mackey Arena. They get back home. That game will happen. Then we'll do a show that night probably. We'll try to get back on the Monday schedule. Northwestern's not bad. They just went up to East Lansing and took down Michigan State. They did that without Pete Nance, too. So that was interesting. Chase Audige, Boo Buie, they're not bad. They've got a couple of nice guards there. Nance keeps improving. He's certainly gotten better every year he's been at Northwestern. So it's not a give-me game. Purdue should win that comfortably. They'll be double-digit favorites. Would think Purdue will be high single-digit favorites at IU, 8-9 points maybe. That'll be a good game. It's a good week for Purdue. When you look at the Big Ten standings here, Purdue now sits one game back in the loss column. Illinois has played one more game than Purdue has. But, really, Purdue is in a decent spot here. You're only one loss back from the leaders. That's Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan State. You go at Michigan State. You don't play them at home. You have a trip to Wisconsin. Purdue's done all right at Kohl Center over the years, and that's later in the season. I think that might help Purdue if Wisconsin can cool off a little bit. That would be a positive. Ohio State's all right. I don't know how good they really are. E.J. Liddell's good. Past that, I don't think they have all that much. But, Purdue's in the hunt here, and that game against Illinois, that's one of the best basketball games you'll see all year. Those are two really high-level teams, and that's the type of game, I talk about that depth. The depth helps Purdue win today. It helped Purdue win against Villanova. It's no coincidence that depth really paid off in high-intensity games against teams that are in the top 20 in the country. That's the type of game that Purdue has to win in the NCAA tournament if they want to get to a Final Four or something. I know it's too early to be thinking about that, but Purdue's depth really helps it there because, the Big Ten is, to right or wrong, it's known for being slow. And the NCAA tournament is, again, right or wrong, known to speed up Big Ten teams and cause Big Ten teams some trouble there. So what I'm saying, I guess, is that you've seen now Purdue beat two really good teams. That is reason to make you confident in what they can do in the NCAA tournament. Last year, Purdue didn't beat the two best teams in the Big Ten. That isn't necessarily why they lost to North Texas, but Purdue didn't have a lot of high-level wins last year that it does have this year already. And while you don't have a ton of massive games out there left, you do have some quad one opportunities. This was a great win today. That's a quad one win for good. Illinois at home will stick in quad one. I would think at Wisconsin, at Michigan State, those will be quad one. If Purdue goes to Ohio State, I don't know, that'll be quad one. But a lot of quad one opportunities left. I think Purdue's 6-2 in quad one now. That always is, or at least in quads 1 and 2, Rutgers is not a quad 1 loss, but plenty to feel good about. I think if the Wisconsin loss really woke this team up, all indications are that it did, then, that was a loss well worth having. That didn't hurt Purdue all that much. You still want to be on the one line in the NCAA tournament. You still have the chance to do so. And you have two more opportunities this week. Probably a quad one game at IU and avoid a bad loss against Northwestern. You keep doing that. If you keep doing what you're capable of doing, the sky's the limit for this Purdue team. Wanted to close the show out today by highlighting Purdue women's basketball. I don't know what percentage of listeners pay attention to the women's program. I know over the years the Purdue women's program certainly has declined. 2 decades ago, Purdue won a national title, 1999, lost another one in 2001. A proud program that really fell off towards the end of the 2010s. Sharon Versup's tenure ended very poorly. They are rocking right now. Katie Gearlds is doing great things with that program. It was awesome to see 8,500 people in Mackey the other night for a game against number 6 IU. Purdue took them to overtime. IU was without their best player. So be it. You can only play the cards you're dealt. Purdue was really competitive against a really good program. And that's a sign that things are getting better. Already, Purdue has exceeded its number of wins from last year. Katie Gearlds is getting this thing going. I think it's very, very likely that they will again be one of the premier programs in the Big Ten. They're still the only Big Ten program to win a national title as a member of the Big Ten. That's huge. Things are going well there. And I don't follow it enough, that game was certainly noteworthy. Yes, the 8,500s in attendance was helped by the Paint Cruise event there, but regardless, any type of momentum they can get going this year is really going to pay off in 2 years or so. They're already getting some recruiting traction going. That's only going to keep getting better. So shout out to Coach Gearlds. Shout out to that program. Good things are coming there on the girls basketball side. But that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I know you enjoyed that win over Illinois. Be sure, follow the show on Twitter, @BoilersBeyond. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Tweet me any feedback, any questions, comments. I'll get back to you right away. We'll be back next week. We'll break down those games at IU and versus Northwestern. But until next time, enjoy those 2 games.